to you.
Con này có địt con mẹ live sub rồi. Zona hini din sa ish.
By advertising on YouTube, I catch the eye of my ideal customers at the right.
You know, I had decided I was going to quit YouTube about 2 years ago. I just wasn't sure how to go about it, but in my mind, I was so set on it. Then I started looking back on why I started YouTube, or when I started. You know, I was in Sweden, I was living in all alone. I was technically on a good track, you know, I was in university, I had my career path laid in front of me. I knew, even though I wasn't feeling good, I knew I would be fine. But I remember how stuck I felt at that time, just doing something I didn't want to do whatsoever. So I was just doing YouTube, hoping, praying. Because it wasn't even a job back then, really, for gaming channels at least. But maybe it would work out. And just remembering how stuck I felt back then to now where I just feel so free, I just wanted to really say thank you for that, for making that possible. There's been a lot of changes on the channel lately, so I figured it made sense to do kind of an update video on looking on the past and where the channel is now and where it's going in the future. As you know, which I've kind of shoved in your face, me and Marcin moved to Japan, and I feel like, you know, on the topic of quitting, now would really be the perfect time. You know, my channel kind of peaked. We tried so many different things, done so many different things, and I just, yeah, it'd be the perfect, you know, we moved to Japan, and so they lived happily ever after. It's funny because I even see comments kind of like begging me to quit, like, bro, just quit already. What else do you want? And I get it, it makes sense, right? But the awkward part is, I'm still here. Post credit. Hey guys, I'm not quitting. But yeah, 2 years ago when I decided I was gonna quit, it was because I had gone through so much drama at the time, and you know, it hasn't always been perfect, but I do feel like I've gone through a lot of scrutiny as well, and the negative would just outweigh the good at that point. But it didn't feel right to quit just because other people, especially when so many people are still being so supportive, you know? And yeah, I look back on my 10 years on YouTube, and it's been a wild fucking ride, and I would do it all again in a heartbeat. I'm so grateful for all the memories and experience that I had so far, but the thing is, I don't want to do it again. Because I'm a different person now because of it. I look back on everything that we've done, and I'm super proud of it, and it's amazing, but, you know, I'm ready for new experiences and different things. I think I realized at that time that, you know, keep trying to push the channel to grow more and more and more all the time wasn't doing anything for me personally. I wasn't getting anything out of the money or the recognition or the fame. At least that part had kind of peaked, you know? What am I gonna do with more? I don't know. Felt like I was growing the channel just because it's expected of you to do so. You have to keep pushing your YouTube channel, keep growing, keep seeing those numbers go up, you know, because that's what's expected of you. But just realize, like, why? Why? I think if I realized that if I had 100 less of subscribers or whatever, or thousands less, I would still feel just as accomplished and just as proud of myself. So what's the point of always trying to push it, you know? But I would always just keep trying to grow the channel as best as I can, you know? The views are there and everyone wants them to go up, and I would stress out over every single upload. I got into really bad habits. I got out of them anyway, but you know, I just realized I was so addicted to YouTube at that point. It was all I really cared about. It really took up all my focus and energy for such a long time, really. And that's what made me successful, but I didn't necessarily feel more successful because of it, I guess is my point. I know this sounds kind of like I'm complaining. I'm just reflecting, really. So 2 years ago, I said I was going to retire, and that confused a lot of people because I still uploaded videos. But the thing is, what I meant was I just want to do YouTube the way I did it when I started, which was for fun. Believe it or not, I didn't do it to become this, I don't know, big channel or big character. And so instead I try to just focus on, yeah, what was fun about YouTube, which is really at its core just to share stuff with you guys. And I've been avoiding all the drama, been a good boy, thank you. Try to avoid all the bullshit and just try to enjoy it the best I can. Not focus too much on the results, and YouTube actually started to become fun again for the past 2 years. And that's when I realized, you know, why should I quit? It's my dream after all to do YouTube. I've worked so hard for this. I think other people could see it as, oh, he got fame, he got money, you know, what else does he want? But that's never that's at its core, that's never why I got into YouTube and enjoyed it so much to begin with. So that's why I'm still here. I still enjoy sharing stuff with you guys, and I don't want to just give all that up. Doing it for a long time though, your channel goes through a lot of changes. I mean, at its core, that's never why I got into YouTube and enjoyed it so much to begin with. So that's why I'm still here. I still enjoy sharing stuff with you guys, and I don't want to just give all that up. Doing it for a long time though, your channel goes through a lot of changes. I mean, I started doing Call of Duty videos, and then I went into horror, and then, you know, Happy Wheels, and you know, it's just constantly been changing. And I think when you do it for such a long time, it comes with the price of, you know, letting some people down because they prefer a certain type of content, and there's always going to be expectations and people having different preferences, which I understand, obviously. But it also makes it feel like you're always letting someone down, and like whatever you're doing is never good enough. And I know a lot of people feel very strongly about certain videos that I did in the past should come back, you know, New News or meme review or more gaming. But to me, those things are just not stuff I'm personally that into anymore. I mean, sure, I still play games, and I'll always enjoy that, and there will always be that in the channel. But at the moment, you know, I don't have that much time. Been spending my days just enjoying Japan, really. But also looking back on a lot of my content, it just feels so lame. Doing videos talking about drama that no one gives a shit about a couple days later. Doing videos about memes that changes like every other day. What's the point? It all just feels like distractions. And I'm not saying now my channel is so deep, but it just feels a bit shallow to always upload that kind of stuff. I kind of feel the same way about shorts, to be honest. They really just feel like distractions, and that's it. I don't want to sound preachy or anything. And for the future, I just want to keep doing videos the way I have been doing, sort of this tempo. At least my first year in Japan, I really just want to enjoy having fun here and making the most out of it and not stress about what the next upload is going to be all the time. And that feels really, really good. I had this bigger thing I filmed, for example, but I'm going surfing after this, and I'm, you know, making choices like that. Sorry. It will just be a little longer. So yeah, I just really appreciate you guys sticking through all the changes, and I still do try my best, but I really, really appreciate all the understanding and support. Is it time? Yeah, come on. Some things never change. You know, I had this.
This episode and others like it are made possible by the generous support of my patrons on Patreon. My AdSense revenue has completely tanked in the last couple months. So if you'd like to help support this channel and get a bunch of cool perks while you're at it, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/secondthought. What if we stopped working? No, really, what if tomorrow we just didn't clock in? What if every single one of us just stopped, right now, and saw what would happen?
Bikini Bottom is literally in a state of total chaos tonight.
Oh, literally!
The real answer is things would go downhill real fast. It would be, like, so bad. Empty shelves, empty cities, empty promises even. We wouldn't make it very long without anybody doing anything we call work. But that doesn't make what if we stopped working a useless question. Because in an otherwise simple answer, it would suck, there's something a little more interesting hiding in the background, just out of focus. What is that? Enhance. Enhance! If the answer to what if we stopped working is we can't, that begs the question, how close can we get? And that question, well, that question has some pretty interesting answers. Let's back up. If you go to parties, you've probably been asked the question, what do you do? If you answer, I make YouTube videos, no you don't. Who would ever give you the chance to give that answer? See, the joke here is that YouTubers have no friends. Like, no one at all. Like, bottom of the barrel, trapped in a pit of loneliness. Anyway, the fact that what do you do is the default punch bowl question demonstrates at least one thing about our current society. Work is one of, if not the biggest part of our lives. But it doesn't have to be. Already, multiple countries are trying out things like a 4-day work week. How does this work? In countries like New Zealand, Spain, and Iceland, they ran experiments with shortening the work week to just 4 days, and then they wrote down the results, and now we're looking at them. One of the better known cases here is Iceland, which ran a couple experiments between 2015 and 2019 after unions started pushing for more time off. For a lucky 2,500 Icelandists, for a lucky 2,500 people, time on the job was decreased to just 4 days, going from 40 to around 35 hours a week. Crucially, without salaries going down even a single frozen fish, or whatever they use for currency over there. Unsurprisingly, it worked really well. People were happier, less likely to experience burnout, healthier. Overall, they just had a better life. And thanks to the successes of the experiment and the strength of trade unions, over 80% of people in all of Iceland shortened their working hours or gained the right to after these trials were run. Even fancy business people in suits were happier because they got to save on some of their costs and didn't see a dip in productivity. Because, as you might not find very surprising, productivity has a diminishing returns curve. The longer you work, the less productive you are. Each new hour of time on the job brings less and less benefit and is more and more justified in being lopped off entirely. And these sorts of experiments are all well and good, but what if we went even further? This week's episode is a little different. Usually, videos on this channel focus on the bad stuff. Ooh, we hate bad stuff. Sorry, ignore him, I don't know how he got in here. And no doubt about it, this video is still going to have some of that, with a side of political theory to appease the nerds. But for the next 15 or so minutes, we're mainly going to answer a couple questions about work. What it is, why it's such a big deal for some people, and why it could just not be. Because it could. We don't need to work so damn hard. You'd think that that fact would make for easy political points, just right there for the taking. Who wouldn't vote for the candidate or the party that's going to make their lives more pleasant, less constrained, more free of work? And in some countries, they do have that kind of politics. But the reality is that neither major political party here in the US is trying to reduce the time we spend at work.
We have to get back to work. Our people want to work. They want to go back. They have to go back.
A job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about your place in the community.
Neither party is trying to meaningfully reduce our working hours, despite enough people hating their jobs so much that Forbes, of all magazines, can run a listicle with 15 ways to, quote, rise above resenting your job, with such helpful tips as, get over it. That's not to say that the sentiment doesn't exist at all in our government. Democrat Mark Takano is trying to get a bill for a 32-hour workweek through Congress. But by and large, neither party is anti-work. Should they be? Okay, let's go over some definitions. Despite being an illegal wordle guess, work is actually a word. Work is the effect we have on the world. It's using your physical or mental effort to achieve something. Without any work at all by anyone, we'd all die. Without nurses, electricians, teachers, people getting out of bed to make breakfast, society would crumble pretty quickly. We would be completely idle, and not for long. Some amount of work always needs to be done. Nowadays, some work gets paid with money, and some work gets paid with no money or barely any money, and also disdain. Being against work, or anti-work if you spend any time on the worst place on the internet, isn't ignoring that fact. It's recognizing that some work always needs to be done, but that the conditions that shape that work should be different than they are now. It's saying that the goal shouldn't be to work as much as possible, but as little as possible to achieve what we want. The goal is to maximize leisure and the quality of that leisure by balancing that interest with the necessity of work. The goal isn't to not work at all, but to work for things that matter and on good terms. This is gonna sound really obvious, but for most of us, that's not how work goes. Work is something we need to do to get access to the things we need to live, like food, shelter, and healthcare. Under capitalism, the only way to get these basic necessities of life is to work in some way or another and get a wage at the end. You work or you starve. Seems pretty coercive. While at work, you have no or very little input on your work conditions. Sometimes they're okay, other times not. On top of that, our whole lives are conditioning us for that reality and imbuing it with value. Work will set you free, no pain, no gain, or there's no such thing as a free lunch are some examples of the ideological discourse that accompanies the material reality of coercion and makes it seem more natural, more palatable. Our necessity to work is accompanied by a psychopolitics trying to enshrine work, in the largest possible sense, as a value. But it doesn't seem to work as well as the benefactors of that discourse want it to. When you consider how much of our time we spend thinking about not working, whether it's dreaming up a vacation we want to take, fantasizing about winning the lottery and quitting, or buying an ironic Garfield mug, it seems like we all want to stop working pretty badly. And yet, when we're given the chance, a good chunk of us keep working even when we don't need to. Some billionaires still work, as do many lottery winners. Retirees often volunteer or
Nếu như
continue
mà xem ở
working
YouTube
in
ấy,
some
thì các bạn sẽ
capacity,
thấy là
even
có
when
một
their
cái
needs are met
thay đổi
and
đó
they're
là
supposed to be in the part of their
camera.
lives where
Hiện
they
tại đang dùng
stop.
camera.
So, do we like to work,
Chất lượng camera khá là
or do
ổn.
we hate it? The obvious
Nghĩ là
answer
như
is
vậy.
that it depends.
Đây,
What does it
đây
depend
là chất
on?
lượng camera hiện tại này.
When we find work
Và
meaningful,
đây là chất
we're
lượng
more than
camera
happy to do
mình
it.
dùng
And
cũ.
there are a couple ways that work can have meaning. There's the most obvious
Đó.
one, which is that work
Chất lượng
which
camera
allows
này là
us to develop
các
our
số
talents
trước
and
đây.
interests,
Còn
to
camera hiện tại
self-actualize.
mình đang dùng
Then
ấy,
there's work that grants
nó
us
là
autonomy and
camera
control over the work
Sony,
itself
hả?
and the product of
Camera
that work.
xịn hơn một tí.
And of course, there's work that produces something of importance. These kinds of really obvious factors give work meaning and help explain why people work on things even when they actually need
và
to
cũng
and
sẽ
could live
cố
in
gắng
complete
ra
and total leisure.
ra hơn
But unfortunately,
một số
in
một
the
tuần.
US and the UK, around a quarter of people feel like their job is completely meaningless. And a big chunk of people on top of that aren't really sure, don't really know if their job is meaningless. They just don't know. They can't figure it out. Which is really to say that their jobs aren't evidently meaningful either. That doesn't mean that every single one of their jobs is entirely pointless. Meaning and purpose are different, even if there's bound to be a big overlap in that group between pointless and
Tối thứ ba quay lại
meaningless
đây
work.
nhá. Tối thứ
But
ba
it
quay lại đây.
definitely means that, at the very least, those jobs are alienating. They're jobs that feel bad to do. They're jobs that aren't imbued with meaning. And that's not even the whole picture. Of the 8 to 9 hours spent every day at work by millions of people, between 1.5 and 3 of them are spent on private activities. We might call this wasted time. Not in the sense that it's not good, it's totally fine by me, but in the sense that it's not really the purpose of being at your job. But as you might expect, or are doing right now watching this video, in which case, nice, workers spending that time on personal things are still pretending like they're being productive during these hours of work that aren't quite downtime, but aren't quite work either. It's ridiculous. While part of this rightfully stolen time is a form of worker resistance, the clear majority of it comes from having nothing to do but being stuck at work, forced to keep up the appearance of click-clacking away or calling people who really don't want to talk to you, just because that's what your boss expects. You're not really free to do what you want, but you're not really working either. And when people are working, not committing quote time theft, an even bigger number of them are working on pointless, mind-numbing tasks like moving data from one Excel spreadsheet to another, responding to emails, or writing reports for someone to throw in a drawer and never look at. Busy work. The point of all this is that there's a tremendous number of people who do nothing at all day, by their own admission, but still have to do it. There's a true army's worth of people wasting their lives behind computers, standing up for long hours in the same 2 square feet, working through the night. And for what? A great many of them just for the appearance of productivity, or the appearance of luxury, or the appearance of importance, to make someone else feel good and pad their wallet just that little bit more by making sure everyone else knows how very important they are. After all, why would someone who's not important have all those underlings? The cost of this bullshit economy is tremendous. Bullshit workers are being robbed of a life. And we have a terrible response to this fact of modern society. In liberal circles, the idea is to redirect everybody to public works projects, achieve full employment, bringing money into people's hands so they can spend it on goods that recirculate that money into the economy and produce more, trying to give, quote, dignity to jobs that are clearly just exploitation turned up to 11. On the right, the idea is to pump more money into businesses on the foolish hope that they're going to just create more jobs, or deregulate workers' rights to the extreme so that they can fire everybody into the worst kind of poverty we can conjure up, and pay the lucky few still employed next to nothing. Run the leanest operation possible, Uberize everything, and sell the precarity of unstable, low-paid work without a safety net as choosing your own hours, or being your own boss. Very few people are willing to embrace the most obvious conclusion. A lot of this is unnecessary. We're working too much. If we distribute the workload and the benefits more evenly, we can work a lot less. Politics isn't the only place where myopic conclusions about work are reached. When we get out of the realm of explicitly political discourse, and into the space we arbitrarily separate out as social, the same tropes and attachment to work aren't hard to find. Hustle culture, the rise and grind set, whatever you want to call the ideology juice that gets a millionaire to spend his free time flipping garage sale toys for 15 bucks. This modern phenomenon is another way in which this political attachment to the Protestant work ethic gets absorbed into our everyday lives. Another way to try to attach meaning to exploitative work, rather than limit labor to work that is already meaningful and practical. Instead, shaping people's entire identity around turning idle time into another buck. Clearly, we have an abundance of free time right there for the taking. So many people wouldn't feel like their jobs were meaningless if there wasn't some truth to it. So much time at work wouldn't be spent slacking if it couldn't be. The truth is, we've made tremendous progress in terms of productivity over the last 100 years. Automation and industrialization alone have taken some of the more laborious activities we used to call work out of human hands entirely. But in over 80 years, the 40-hour work week hasn't budged. It's not laziness to ask for more time for leisure. It's efficiency. It's purely pragmatic. We accomplish the same amount in a couple hours as it used to take a full day. More on a Monday than used to be possible with most of a week. We automated away many of the things we didn't want to do so that we had the time to do the things that we do want to do. Spending that time we earned creating new jobs where we feel stuck at work for hours on end just because we have no good mechanism to distribute work and protect the unemployed means failing to realize the goals of automation. It is wasting all that progress. And yes, it's undoubtedly not so black and white. Some of the industrialization and automation of the past century has allowed us to take on new work that does actually improve our quality of life. But focusing exclusively on that to justify useless jobs with the sole purpose of padding some higher-up's wallet and satisfying the doctrine that, well, everybody has to work, is ignoring the main way we could be improving our lives today, making work a smaller part of it. Okay, so what if we tried answering the question, how close can we get to eliminating work, in an unscientific way? If we took the estimate of 25% of people having meaningless jobs at face value, which in all fairness is a stretch, we're eliminating 25% of our work hours. Work weeks go from 40 hours to 32 here in the US. That's not bad. And we don't have to accept the fact that these jobs are actually meaningless to want to reduce the time spent on them. Even if these jobs do have a purpose, the feeling of meaninglessness they create clearly demonstrates that they are incredibly mentally damaging for the people working in them. Reducing those hours, like we would with incredibly physically demanding jobs, makes sense beyond a strict productivity maximization framework. In another example, what if we took that statistic about 1.5 to 3 hours being completely wasted every day? Taking that into account, you end up with somewhere between a 27 and a 33-hour work week. That's also pretty good. And if this seems like an absurd way to calculate how much time we're working, I agree with you. I shouldn't be plucking numbers out of this or that study, doing simple divisions and calling it a day. But this is no less absurd than how we determine work hours right now. Just a couple people at every company write your contract. They set your working hours, with the only limit being what the law says they can't go over, pushing most industries right up to that 40-hour clock out. And the only reason that number isn't any higher is thanks to decades of worker agitation, revolts, protests, demonstrations, other synonyms for people being angry, clawing it from industry. Were it not for the gains of militant workers, we'd still be punching in 12-hour days side by side with newly minted 12-year-olds. This is an absurd way to decide how much work needs to be done. Letting a couple guys make all their demands, and only tempering them when society faces mass-scale agitation and violence bubbling up in the streets is absurd. It shouldn't get to this point. The clearly better way to determine working time is to work for necessity and desire, to make decisions in common about needs and allocations of resources, to use governments, organizations, and democracy everywhere across the board to establish how much we work and how much we set aside for leisure, to disentangle work from necessity so that we can really make these decisions without constantly fearing for our meals and fighting others for the scraps. In short, to include democracy in economic decisions, to take into account our resources and desire to work without constantly fearing that every drop of sweat we don't shed means worrying about being taken over by the other sweatier worker at the other sweatier company. To stop people who profiteer off the work of others by hogging everyone else's free time. To not have a system that decides how much we work based on how much the guy at the top really wants a new watch. Missed birthdays, funerals, and every other life event in between be damned. Now, this isn't about getting back to some primitive way of life, idealized beyond the reality of tremendous hardship and ableism past societies encountered without the technological and social advancements we have today. This is about taking stock of all the time going straight down the drain for no good reason other than keeping an unjust system chugging along. This is about enjoying a life like we have now, with more time to actually enjoy it. If you spent a couple less hours at Best Buy, would society be okay? Or AutoZone? Or making coffee? Or on the clock in your cubicle? Sure, GDP could go down a bit, but we already know how the GDP gets broken down between the rich and the poor anyway. We wouldn't be maximizing profits and exhausting all the human labor power at our disposal. But that is not the point of being human in the first place. So long as we can reorganize our society towards one in which GDP dips aren't synonymous with austerity for the majority, where we care more about the productive resources at our disposal than the numbers on a screen meant as a proxy of those resources, we can dramatically change the nature of work and how much time we decide to put into it. Even without touching those structures, we can still meaningfully cut our work time. Today, burnout rates are through the roof. More and more people are being pushed into holding multiple jobs. People are desperate for leisure time but can't afford to take it. We as human beings need time to do whatever we want, for everyone. Art, music, reading, going back to school, watching TV shows, playing sports, cooking, being with friends, traveling, volunteering, farming, doing literally nothing, or even working, just on something else. It's within our reach. Our obsession with the ideology of work and the coercive model of decision-making holding our society captive are the only barriers to its achievement. We can build a world where work is rewarding, meaningful, and fair. I'm gonna be honest. YouTube has really been screwing me lately. My AdSense revenue is down to a third of what it was a couple months ago, and subscribers aren't being notified of my uploads. If you'd like to help support content like this, remember to click the bell and select all to make sure you get a notification for—
An enemy has been slain. An An enemy has been slain. Shut it down. Shut down.
Remember every kill.
It's weak.
Enemy killing spree.
You can do it too.
An ally has been slain.
Uh-oh.
Shut down.
Uh-oh.
Strike when ready.
I can do it. I just say it's weak.
They're made of.
Yeah.
An ally has been slain.
Monsters can be made to fear.
An enemy has been slain.
Happy? Happy? Happy?
I seek only the strongest.
뭐야?
Your team has destroyed a turret. An enemy has been slain. Enemy double kill. An ally has been slain.
There is the hunter and the hunted. Don't trip.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
The killer's path.
Your turret has been destroyed. Enemy has been slain.
I am not done with you.
Enemy killing spree. An enemy is dominating. Enemy rampage. Enemy double kill. Double kill. An ally has been slain. Your turret has been destroyed.
A true hunter never rests.
An enemy is dominating.
Scent of prey.
Shut down.
Strike when ready.
Enemy double kill. An enemy is godlike. An enemy has been slain.
Monsters can be made to
Enemy has been slain. Shut down.
catch their trail.
Have been slain. Enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain.
The hunter and the hunted.
Enemy rampage.
Walk the killer's path. Not so fast. Whose head shall I take? I seek only the strongest.
Rampage. Your turret has been destroyed. Has been slain. Unstoppable.
Off a souvenir.
Has slain an enemy.
Spoils of the hunt.
An enemy is unstoppable.
Comfort breeds weakness. A true hunter never rests.
Dominating.
Vậy thôi.
An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain.
Đông vãi cả đái đâu.
An enemy is legendary. An enemy has been slain.
The scent of prey.
Oof.
There is the hunter and the hunted.
Độc quá. Rất là ulti chứ.
Walk the killer's path.
An ally has been slain.
Head shall I take? Fine collection. I seek only the strongest.
Your turret has been destroyed. An ally has been slain. Your team has destroyed a turret. Unstoppable. Shut down.
Strike ready.
An ally has been slain. Enemy killing spree. Enemy killing spree. Enemy double kill.
Catch their trail.
Your turret has been destroyed.
Don't tread.
Your turret has been destroyed. Your inhibitor has been destroyed.
Walk the killer's path.
Your turret has been destroyed. Your turret has been destroyed.
I seek only the strongest.
You have been slain. Enemy killing spree. Your team has destroyed a turret. Your turret has been destroyed. Killing spree. Double kill. Defeat.
Hey, never pick a fight you can't win.
Yes, sir!
You want style? You found her.
door. Wedding season. Let's go to the room when she accused of a shocking crime.
Name's Samira. Try not to slow me down.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
Right hand blaze, left hand thorn. Vanquish on the back? Simple as that.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
Trap con.
Why be average when I can be savage?
Minions have spawned.
I'm the rose that survived the desert. You look promising. Oh, great feel to shoot my past in the face. Life's simple. Take the shot or lose the chance.
First
The Ascended think they own my people. They are wrong.
An ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain.
I am the beauty and the beast.
An ally has been slain.
Only need one eye to hit my mark.
An enemy has been slain.
This took years for everyone else. If they think I kill for fame, ha! They're idiots. Just like all the others. I don't work, I slay. I'm not built to win. I'm built to conquer. Taking a quick break. Try not to die while I'm...
Rampage.
Guns and swords go together like rice and saffron. I care most about my warband or my family. Or the changes, depending on who gets on my nerves. Came all this way to die?
An enemy has been slain.
I feel most alive when I'm walking the line.
An enemy has been slain.
Strength? I value style. We're good partners. Hope I get some blood on these boots. The color's a bit dull. Refugee. That label is very
Oh fuck. Tưởng nó dùng flash rồi, hóa ra nó chưa dùng flash.
Shut down.
Dụ nó đi rồi, trap nó lại.
Luca, guys, gals, and other pals. Samira's back. Darius, Swain. Those names mean little to me.
An ally has been slain.
Well-behaved women don't need to.
An enemy has been slain. Shut down. Double
Telling me to settle down.
Killing spree.
Not my style. Money buys a gun. Thrill buys a reputation. Thrilling! Ha! Maybe I'll get a tattoo to celebrate the occasion.
An enemy has been slain.
Let's make this fun.
Go again. Those who followed the Ascended burned away my home.
Down.
So don't expect me
Enemy
to follow.
double kill.
Xuân khỏe quá. 64 63 03 13 được. Bay chuyển một tí là xong rồi.
An enemy has been slain.
Tao đồ ngon hơn, ok.
Style.
You have slain an enemy.
I win. Quick break. Try not to die while I'm
An
gone.
ally has been slain.
That person I loved thought I was too reckless.
They're lost.
Enemy killing spree. Your turret has been destroyed.
Growing up, my mama taught me one lesson. Death isn't the scariest thing. It's a mother's rage.
Don't mess with me.
Killing spree.
Some choose steel, others bullets. Why not both?
Quá dễ đi em ạ.
An ally has been slain.
Vices. A few more.
An enemy has been
Mày
slain.
tưởng tao sẽ vào đúng không? Dễ cho mày ăn lắm đấy.
Enemy rampage. Enemy double kill.
Born in Shurima, raised by no.
Dễ cho mày ăn lắm
Maybe
đấy.
I'll die in Demacia to make things interesting, huh?
Tanker đúng không? Mày thích tanker đúng không? Con mẹ mày hàng gì nhá? Đi lên canh còn lên canh ngu nữa thì Rồi, mình chẳng còn sợ danh nữa. Thằng G đang ở dưới ấy. Ok. Thế này.
Rampage.
Danger runs from me.
Double kill. An enemy is dominating.
Keep the change. Look here. The Ascended think they own my people. They are wrong.
Hợp lý công ty ra vẻ đúng không?
I'm the rose that survived the test.
Đông quá. Nào, chưa không để ý thằng G.
An enemy has been slain.
Đi lên 3-4 lần mà thằng Shaco đéo bao giờ lên cả.
Your turret has been destroyed. Enemy double kill.
Đéo gì mà tự hào đâu. Tao có ganh, tao cũng đang khả hại mày rồi. Ok.
Believe me, I faced worse.
Your turret has been destroyed.
I don't wound, I slay.
Your turret has been destroyed. An enemy has been slain.
Indari was a great captain. She taught me how to shoot. I taught myself how to kill. Hey, old man.
Your team has destroyed a turret. Your team has destroyed a turret.
This took years of practice for everyone else.
An enemy is legendary.
Khỏe quá.
Shut down.
I am the beauty and the beauty.
Refugee. That label is where I draw my strength.
Taking a quick break. I'm not done while I'm gone.
I'm
Khỏe quá.
Killing spree.
Die young.
Rồi cái này xong thì lấy cái.
I chose this. And sure, someday it might get me killed. But till then,
Đâu qua.
Double kill. Aced.
maybe you should have smiled more. Only need one eye. One.
Your team has destroyed a turret. Legendary.
Seven.
The hero, others run like the villain. It's all a matter
Đó thật
of
đấy.
perspective.
Đâu ở ngoài không?
They're lost. Done and dusted. I fight on my terms. Money buys a gun or two.
Your team has destroyed an inhibitor.
A reputation.
Shut down.
People always ask about my weapons. Right hand blaze, left hand thorn. Vanquish on the back? Simple as that.
Slain.
They're idiots. Just
Victory!
Oof.